Hello, electrifiers, and welcome to your weekly roundup of all the latest news and ramble about the world of electric cars from the gang at electrifying.com. This week, we can finally talk about the Polestar 4, which has got people talking for one very big reason. We're also going to discuss the Jeep Wagoneer and the Volvo that we're all going to have to wait a little bit longer for, along with Peugeot's plans for the future. Plus, we'll be answering your car buying questions and dipping into the postbag to find out what you've been saying to us over the past week. Welcome, everyone, to the Kilowatt Half Hour. I'm Ginny.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Mike.
So, how are we all? It's been a busy week, hasn't it, in the car world, electric car world?
It has been a bit, hasn't it? Yeah. And it's also getting warmer, which has given me another 20 miles of range on the car.
Oh, no, my i5 suddenly got another 40 miles.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Yay! And we shouldn't be happy about that, but we are. I think the big story this week, should we kick off with Polestar 4? Which is really interesting, isn't it? Because we are obviously very used to cars making headlines for all the things that they've got, new electric cars. But this one has made massive headlines, actually. For the one thing, of course, it hasn't, which is a rear window. I think it broke the internet a bit that yesterday, didn't it? People are just so up in arms about it. And even if they like the idea that they're talking about it, I can't imagine a new car launch getting quite the amount of media coverage that this one got in the mainstream media. And then, Tom, you and I were chatting yesterday about this. And you said, yeah, but of course, there's loads of people out there driving cars, will be driving vehicles, will be wondering what everybody's on about. And of course,
well, van drivers, of course, they generally can't see behind them, so they don't have a rear view mirror. And I don't know if you rent a van or something, I always instinctively look up to the top of the windscreen and there's nothing there. So you get used to using the other. But I don't know. I haven't sat in the Polestar 4 yet. I think it might be a little bit weird. I know it's got that camera, but I'm not quite sure I get on with those. I'm sure you get used to it, and it maybe has other advantages. But I'm not sure.
Well, we have a full video of that on the site. If you go to electrifying.com and you put Polestar 4 into the search, you'll be taken to our preview, which has got Nicola's video. And I went along actually to have a look at it. And Nicola and I were sat in the back. And I think we were both expecting it to be quite a bit weird and dark in there. It's not at all. It's a really nice interior, but the back seats are lovely. I think what they're saying is that they've been able to get a bit more headroom and a bit more room, and it does feel very spacious in the back. I don't think you'd struggle in there, Mike. And you were always our benchmark, aren't you, for how much headroom there is?
Yeah.
You're like our human ruler, aren't you?
Yeah. It's always good to have a purpose, isn't it, in life? But if only to measure the back seats, of cars. Yeah. But I mean, the mirror thing's interesting, isn't it? Because we had a couple of comments on social yesterday when we put it out, and it sort of dawned on me. I can't work out why I don't like them. I don't get on with them. There's only when someone pinged in and said, I had them on my Megane, but I hate it. I turned it off because on the Megane you can flip between mirror and the digital screen. And he says, I wear glasses. And it messes with it because you obviously you look at a mirror, your focal point is way beyond the actual thing that you're looking at. It's way beyond the actual mirror itself. And he said, because I wear glasses, and that isn't my focal point. So it's really difficult to kind of use. And they ended up making him feel ill or whatever, and just couldn't use them anyway. So I realized, obviously I'm a glasses wearer. That's maybe the reason why I don't get on with it. And maybe because I've only driven a car for maybe a couple of hours with it, whether you're doing it day after day after day, you do get used to it. It'd be interesting to know if there's any listeners out there who are skeptical of being turned around one way or the other, either loved them, then hated them, or hated them, then loved it. It'd be interesting to know.
And also just about cameras in general, because we've chatted a lot. I think we've chatted on the podcast before about cameras instead of side mirrors. And that's kind of like, there was such a lot of chat about that. Do you remember when it was the Audi e-tron came out, and that was like, they had them, and then the little Honda E. They seem to have disappeared a bit, those. I haven't seen a new car sort of shouting about the fact it's got cameras for wing mirrors in ages. Can you remember one?
No, I think Audi quietly dropped them, didn't they? They nobody liked them and they were too expensive. And I think there was a Genesis which had them, and I worked out that it would take 10 years to get the payback on the option cost from
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
from
I,
the improvement in aerodynamics.
I think the thing is with it, and we must stop talking about the Polestar windows and perhaps actually talk about some things like the price and what the range is
Yeah.
going to be and its charging speeds in a second. But I think what's interesting is we do this thing on electrifying that you and I worked on, which was called Green Heroes. And it's about looking at the overall emissions of a car, particularly pertinent with electric cars, because they do produce a lot more emissions in their manufacturing process. And car makers are, some of them more than others are trying to reduce their overall emissions, and that obviously includes massively the manufacturing and the supply chain. Volvo and Polestar are doing a lot of work in this area, and Polestar actually have said that this has got it's the lowest carbon footprint to date of any Polestar. Not a massive accolade because they haven't released that many of them, but it's still still good. But I do think I had some really interesting conversations with quite a few people who lead sustainability programs at different brands, and the one thing they all come back to is reducing the complexity in cars, getting rid of the parts. Obviously you do need things like doors and wheels. It'd be quite hard if they got rid of those, but the less parts they have to manufacture and press, it can help with reducing those overall emissions. And I do think that this isn't just a case of Volvo going, oh, we're not going to put a back window in because that will make everybody talk about it a lot. I think there is some genuine stuff there around design, but also around that just desperately trying to reduce the parts in the car. Am I being overly kind? Do you agree?
No, I think you're probably right. I think that glass is probably quite heavy as well. So if you can get rid of a large glass panel, that's going to help. And also, I think it's not that thermally efficient. So if you think of your house, all the heat leaks out of the windows, doesn't it? So if you can have some insulated material like steel with a liner on it, it's probably going to mean that you're using the heater less, which in electric cars is very important.
So should we quickly run through the stats on the car, just
Yeah.
because we realised not? So it's pricing, I think, surprised a few people. I saw a couple of comments on our electrifying Twitter or X or whatever it's called these days on the feed, saying from Polestar 2 owners who are a bit like, oh, disappointed because it's coming in at just under 60, isn't it? It's going to start. It's quite punchy. I mean, having sat inside, it's a very, very beautiful interior. It really does feel like a special place to be. Battery 94 kilowatt hour. They're saying a range of 379 miles, and I think the charging speed is pretty good. 200. It'll take up to 200 kilowatts, which, considering it's only got 400-volt architecture, they've done some clever engineering around that. But I think the other contentious thing about it, from my point of view, is that they've said it's an SUV coupe. And I'm sorry, no, it's SUV. Either of you?
No.
I mean, we ran the sums on it. I think it's 50 millimeters taller than an Audi A6 estate. So it's hardly a Kia EV9, is it? I think that's purely down to marketing and search, isn't it? And people do look for SUVs. Yeah. I know there's a general feeling of we want to move away from that, but I think it's probably entirely a marketing thing rather than saying it's a premium saloon, which probably gets it's an old-fashioned phrase, isn't it? Whereas SUV coupe is kind of, it still counts currency. So it must just purely be that, because it isn't. As you say, you look at it, you think it's not an SUV, is it? Or even a coupe, because it's got a proper sort of tailgate as well, hasn't it? So it's a bit misleading.
I always remember. I think you're right. Cars get categorised for marketing, don't they?
Yeah,
and exactly. So I remember talking to Ian Callum. Did you ever talk to Ian Callum about this?
No.
He absolutely refused to categorise when you spoke to him what category the I-Pace was. He was like, no, I'm just not doing that because in my mind it doesn't fall into a category. Of course, then the might of the JLR marketing machine got involved, and it had to have a category and a positioning. But for Ian as a designer, he wouldn't be drawn on it at all. It's quite interesting talking to him about it.
But you go onto the website and it just say it's Jaguar's premium electric SUV, doesn't it? And you look at it, you think, well, they've got the wrong picture in there, but no, it's entirely what it's called.
Anyway, do let us know your thoughts on Polestar 4. in the comments below, or you can email us, of course, info@electrifying.com with any questions that you've got about it. Love to hear what you think. What do you make of the first car that we can think of, mainstream car without a windscreen? Well, windscreen, God, that would be nice. No, God, I didn't mean that. Without a rear window. That's really taking things to another level, isn't it? Dear. So, right, okay. Mike, what's caught your eye this week?
Well, we've had we don't know a lot about it, but there's a Jeep Wagoneer, which again bringing back another name from the past that I know you're quite fond of, Jenny. But it's going to be a kind of like a big Range Rover rival, hopefully, possibly before Range Rover do their own one. So we know practically nothing about it. We're teased with a couple of images and an interior. So it's going to have 350-mile range, 600 brake horsepower. That's kind of it. That's all we know at the moment. But I know you two guys really liked it. And you said, "Oh, have you seen the Wagoneer?" And I hadn't at that point. And I looked it up. And in my mind, I've got Wagoneer, a nice American station wagon with wood on the sides. And of course, I thought you'd put the wrong pictures in, because they think there's something that looked like, slightly overgrown Fisker Ocean. So you two like it, but I was a little underwhelmed. But I appreciate I am not the target market of this kind of car, and I imagine building a car, an old kind of woody estate, would be madness commercially. So I can see why it looks the way it does. But you two guys are up for it, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, when the pictures dropped with me, I sent it over to you, Tom, and was like, like the look of this. But I feel slightly saddened it doesn't have some wood panelling somewhere on it. Maybe that will appear when we see production versions as optional extras and things. I thought it looked quite sexy. I like the look of it.
Yeah, I think the Jeep Wagoneers are kind of designed for the American market, aren't they? I mean, they're huge. Even the old ones are huge. And I think that we haven't got any dimensions on this, but I think it's going to be a large car. I mean, it's going to make it's going to make a Range Rover look small. So it's meant to be coming here. It's meant to be coming right-hand drive, which I think is a first for the Wagoneer. I don't think the old ones were. Some Jeep geeks out there will tell me if it was. But if it's going to come here, maybe people will like it. They bought those big Mercedes things, didn't they? They were just looked too big for UK roads. So maybe, don't know.
I think I'm quite liking what Jeep are doing though at the moment. I mean, the Avenger, I think, just impressed all of us for being a great reinvention at completely the opposite end of the scale, wasn't it? Because it's now, it is a Jeep that you feel comfortable seeing in cities because it's small and compact. So I think it will be really interesting to see it. I do think they're doing some quite exciting stuff. I actually don't know who's heading up Jeep's design team at the minute, but I think they're producing some good looking cars. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that one.
Okay.
Tom, and what has caught your eye this week?
Well, I sat through a Peugeot press conference, which announced three things, which were.
Did we compensate you for that? Did we send somebody to
paid.
give you a massage, get some chocolates delivered for you? No.
Well, the first part of it was that they are going to do an 8-year warranty on E3008. Which is quite a big move for them. No other European maker does such a long warranty. I mean, Toyota have the 10-year warranty. MG and Kia have 7 years. And of course, you have to keep up your servicing at the Peugeot dealer in order to get it. And they say it may go to other models, electric models in the range, but it's part of their plan to kind of shore up the residual values of their electric cars, which aren't great at the moment. And of course, that's pretty good. The thing is, it's only on the powertrain, so the battery already has 8 years and 100,000 miles, and now it's the motors and the chargers and everything else. So it's not, if you break a door handle, that's not going to be covered. It's just the rest of the powertrain bits that will be.
Okay.
The other thing they did was that they're introducing Chat GPT on the E3008. And I was kind of cynical, and I thought, what's the point? I mean, they can't even get voice activation to work in most cars, can the car makers? They showed a video demonstration of it, and it appeared to be. And the example they used was, what's the most famous picture painted by Picasso? And they said, it's going to go. Oh, where can I go and see that? Can you navigate me to that museum? And would you do that? I mean, it's more likely to be
fewer distractions in cars, not more.
Actually, would it be good if you were in we all travel around a lot the UK. So I'm going down to Bristol tonight. So in Bristol, I don't know where to go for dinner. That could be quite nice. So tell me what the best Indian restaurant in Bristol is and then navigate me to it.
Or tell me where the nearest McDonald's is.
Yeah, Taj Mahal.
Wouldn't personally go down that route, but Michelin star would be good. I could, yeah. I don't know. It's a gimmick, isn't it? Would you all use it? What do you think, lovely electrifying listeners? ChatGPT in cars, is it just a gimmick, or do we think it will actually become a thing that we will all use? Let's discuss in the comments or via email. Can I just quickly move on and mention the fact that the long list for the World Car of the Year for 2024 has been revealed. So I'm obviously involved in this process as a UK juror, and it's quite a long process because they have a massive list of contenders. Then it's whittled down to 10 for the overall car, and then 5 in the different categories. And then it goes to the final 3, and then the final winner gets announced on the 27th of March at the New York show. You intrigued? Shall I tell you what in the electric vehicle category would you like to know? Because obviously, it's a global award, so obviously different markets are coming to electric at such different paces. So there are a lot more petrol and diesel cars popping up in this than perhaps there might be in Europe. But in purely the electric vehicle category, I don't know, any surprises here? BMW i5 is a finalist, Kia EV9, Mercedes EQE, Volkswagen ID7 and the Volvo EX30, which of course was our car of the year, wasn't it? Any surprises in there for either of you two? Because there was one big mission that surprised me. See if you can guess which car I'm surprised isn't in there. I'll do a sound effect.
Seal, dolphin, seagull, fish.
Is that because they're not in the US or something?
No, not that one. That's actually in the overall list. I'm doing the waves in the ocean.
Oh,
come on.
You would have thought that was a sure thing.
Got any better sound effects than mine, Mike?
No, I haven't for that. No.
You got any sound effects? No.
I've got loads, but nothing that's water related. I'll do better next week. Yeah.
I thought the ocean would be in there because I do think the ocean personally is better than a couple of cars that have made that final 5.
Was it mentioned why they're not in there? Did they not?
Well, because it's just purely votes. So we all drive the cars in our own markets, but also there's a driving event that happens in the US every autumn. So people went out there, drove. No idea why they had cars there. I mean, personally, I was surprised it wasn't in there, and it's also not in the. There's a long list for the overall car of the year, and that is the BYD Seal, the Ford Bronco, the Kona in both powertrains, electric and also combustion engine, Hyundai Santa Fe, EV9, Mazda CX-90, Subaru Crosstrek, the Prius, the VW ID7, and the Volvo EX30 are the finalists. So, yeah.
Talking of EX30s.
Yeah, go on. Oh, yes. What a great segue. Please, come on, Mike. Round of applause for Tom for the best segue of the podcast. Oh, love it. Do that again.
It's been delayed, and we don't know how long for, but we think up to 6 months. And the reason is
what? Sorry, say that again.
Up to 6 months. 6 months. Wow. Yeah. And the reason is the software. So, I mean, they haven't said what. I think the software generally on the other cars that are made on that platform has been a little bit flaky in places, I'd say. When we've driven the cars, it's been a little bit strange. And I think perhaps Volvo have been a bit stung by some of the criticism that car's had and have gone a bit back to the drawing board, I think.
Oh, okay. That'll be an interesting one. Mike, talking about you as a human ruler, as we were doing a little earlier.
Yes.
How you managed to squeeze yourself into the Fiat 500e, which I think have you been in that recently? I guess?
As you know, yeah. Well, yes, it went back yesterday. As you know, it's one of my favourite electric cars. One of our favourite electric cars. Electrifying.com. Yeah. It's a lovely thing. It's nice.
First car of the year winner, wasn't it?
It was, and it's always nice to kind of reconnect with cars that you drove a couple of years ago, because we drive so many other cars in between that it was nice just to get into this and see what it's like, how it's aged effectively. So it was really nice. It was a mid-spec one. It was an Icon spec. It was a really odd set of equipment on it. So it's got like the sort of doors that you can open just by pressing the door handle and that kind of thing, and wireless CarPlay. And I think this is all lovely. It doesn't have parking sensors, which I've got used to. This is very much a first world problem, and I apologise for being a spoilt brat. But I was reversing it, and I was getting fairly close to the wall, which I always park up against. And I was thinking, this is nice. They're not going off madly, because in the Hyundai, in my Ioniq 5, they go off if you're in the same postcode as wherever the hazard is. It warns you far too much. And so I was reversing in, and it sort of dawned on me. I thought, has it got the parking sensors? I put the brake on in time, but yeah, I realised it didn't have them. And and I sound like a real spoiled brat here. I drove it at night for the first time, and it's got halogen headlights. And I can't remember the last time I had a car I drove, other than my old Smart, which I've got in the garage. I realised how bad halogen headlights were. How did we get anywhere without falling off the road? Because it was like having two candles at the front of the car. It was really, really, really dark. So it's It was lovely to reconnect with it. It was lovely to drive a sort of basic, stripped out, honest car. But yeah, I think the 500 is great. I think they could just improve. If they could make it cheaper, I think they would really do really well with this car.
That's the big problem with it. Do you remember we were chatting about this week? We were reminiscing, weren't we? When it came out, there was a version that was just under £20,000, which actually felt about right for it.
Yeah.
And it felt like, this is brilliant. This is going to get, and that's why that was the version we gave our car of the year to, because we felt it would get lots more people into electric. Wow, that feels like something many, many years ago, doesn't it? Because it's too much now. It's too much money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. But it was not. It was lovely to drive, and I used. They make a lot of sense. They're kind of 14, 15 grand now for a fairly sort of basic trim ones. Lovely, perfect car. Yeah, really good.
Cool. Okay. We've had a brilliant postbag again this week. You were saying,
Great.
Should we move on to Postman Mike?
We should move on to Postman Mike. And can I just say, we've had a few people saying that half an hour isn't long enough, and we should be the Kilowatt 3/4 of an hour or 3/4 of an hour, or the Kilowatt hour. So we might overrun this one. If you think it's too long, please let us know. But we've got so much to get through. I just really wanted to kind of cover everything. We've had 2 car buying questions from our listeners.
Oh, I like that. That's good. We'd love to get more of those. So can we just get, before we do move on to the postbag, can we please just get an answer to, where we officially stand on the Postman Mike jingle? Because I like it.
I think you're the only one, Ginny.
Nicola likes it.
You're the only 2, Ginny.
But then that's half of us.
That's not. It needs to be fully. It needs to be everybody. We had a funny Jar Wolf, who I'm going to preempt now, who asked us a car buying question, said the only reason the reason Mike doesn't like the jingle is secretly he loves it. He thinks I'm denying it because I enjoy the attention, but I'm being too bashful about it. But no, I can assure you I can't stand it. So it's not actually putting on that. So.
I agree. I completely agree. I think you do really like it. And because of that, I'm actually going to give you a rendition. Postman Mike, Postman Mike, Postman Mike, and his electric bike.
Yes, Manos, Tom, that's 2430 Manos.
If you dare edit it out, Manos. It's obviously much more fun when somebody joins in. But anyway, I'll wait until Nick's back for that.
Shall we go?
Right, go on, postbag.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get on with it.
Car buying listener William McBride has a good one for us. He's been searching for new electric cars on his mum's behalf, and she's looking at trading a 9-year-old diesel and considering an electric car. So brilliant. He said, I've seen the Honda ENY1, which, as we know, is the Honda Ernie, and it has a sticker price of £45,000 new, but he's seen them advertised as new, no mileage, for £34,000. And he's assuming that's because it hasn't had a particularly warm reception, which I would tend to agree with. He said his mum's a Honda fan, and he's had 3 in the past purely because she knows they're going to be reliable and stand the test of time. She'd be more inclined to switch to electric and a car brand that she has some faith in. Would you recommend it as a first EV? Over to you.
Can I pass?
Well, yeah, I will say that I understand that. I've had Honda motorbikes in the past because I know they will work. And if people get to know their dealer and they've got a relationship with them and they know they're going to be nice to them and explain things like how to go electric, then it kind of makes sense. Now, what we have said about that Honda is that it's not a terribly special car and it's too expensive.
Yeah.
But you look on the deals on them now, and I don't understand how it works in the car marketing department that you make a car £42,000 and then give a £9,000 discount and 0% finance. But if the dealer is essentially making it 34,000, suddenly that car doesn't look so bad, does it?
Yeah.
It's
No. Do you know what? I'm just looking actually at the review over on electrifying.com, and I think that's the thing that we all say about it. In that, it's the price. You know, you can't. Why would you pay extra over some talented competition which offer more for less? Again, you know, so it's true, isn't it? It's an okay car. It's not a bad car, but it's been the price that was our biggest issue.
I
Do you
think
want to
it's just
explain why?
an electric car made for Honda lovers, really, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think we would say if the price is right, go for it.
Yeah, I think the price is right and you're happy with the service. Even if you get fantastic service from your dealer, if she's been buying cars for, 9 years or whatever from Honda, she knows the people, you're going to get a good deal. You don't need that extra stress of finding a new brand. That's something you're uncomfortable with. So yeah, I mean, as a car, it was fine. As you say, the only thing we had a big issue was for the mileage and the range it got. It was too much money, a bit like the Honda E was. So yeah, I would say, William, go for it. And if it's awful, don't blame us. So yeah, we'll go for that.
Also, just one caveat to put in there: the range isn't the best on it, is it? It's not a real world driving range. So just, I'm guessing, if your mum's going to be doing loads of long journeys, then that might be a bit more stressful because you will need to use public charging more. So consider that as well. But if this is a car for a daily run around, then proceed with caution.
Indeed. Okay, the second one we've got is Jarwolf, possibly not his real name or her real name. Current lease on a Kia e-Niro 4 Plus is ending in 4 months and need to choose a new EV. It's great range, it's the right size, not too big and easy to operate. So this is the old shape e-Niro, as it was called. The new model looks, the updated model looks great. So it's got everything that's been addressed that was an issue with the early one, but it's now more than £42,000 with all the gadgets that he wants on it, which is a lot more than he would have paid for his e-Niro. So he's wanting to know what he should do. He spotted that the Tesla new model, the new revised, updated Highland Tesla Model 3 has a lot longer range, 344 mile WLTP range, the fast charging and the same amount of toys as his e-Niro has. Should he go for that instead? That's what he wants to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my sort of initial kind of thing, was thinking, well, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, the only reason you wouldn't, I suppose, is if you need a hatchback. And the e-Niro, I think, is more practical if you need to get a bike in, for example. But I'm sure there are Model 3 owners who know how to move a bike around and tackle IKEA shopping. But otherwise, I mean, that's the problem that all car manufacturers have got now, is that everything's compared to a Model 3.
I think, as Tom said, I mean, the fact that you put a Model 3 down as one of your options suggests that you're not going to be loading mountain bikes into the back of it, and the saloon shape would work for you. Model Y is also getting, because there's a refresh coming of the Model Y, it's going to get a similar kind of treatment that the Model 3 got in terms of updates. So I guess demand's is softening off for that as well. So there'll be equally good lease deals on those as well. I think it's always a default thing to recommend a Tesla, isn't it, to somebody? It's usually if they're going electric for the first time, because the supercharging network makes such a difference. But you can't argue with the figures that they're offering Model 3s on a lease are. So I mean, I'd be confident to say that'd be a good choice.
The one thing I would say, though, having driven it recently, and this, that I didn't get on massively with the buttons on the steering wheel. It's partly because it doesn't suit the roads around where I live, and I wasn't a big fan of having to use the gear selector in the screen. I would make sure you really do drive it. To go for a proper drive in it, and just check that I mean, Nicola got used to them quicker than I did. I didn't like it as much. we've all got different opinions on it. It's really down to you. You may just find that actually it just irritates you a bit. So I would just make sure you drive it properly as well, would be my take, proper test drive.
Excellent. And if anyone else has got any buying quandaries and wants to have a stab in the dark about what they should buy, please let us know in the comments below on the YouTube video. We're always glad to help. Shall I move on to the main postbag now?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will do. Right. Right, I've got my printouts from everything from the print room. Last week, we had a lovely message from Hayley, owner of a Citroen Ami. Do you remember? And she said that she wasn't happy with your plan to remove all the Type 2 connectors from council areas and public areas. Well, we asked her how she was getting on with it, and she's replied. She's come back to us, Ginny. She says, I own a Citroen Ami Vibe. I was slightly disappointed with Ginny saying about the Type 2 connectors, because she was the person whose video persuaded me to buy one. So there you go. Positive and a negative.
I think I said all of them. I didn't want them all gone. It was just that let's have a spread of charging rather than just those.
Yeah,
Didn't I say that? Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll have to look at the tapes, Ginny. She said, everyone thought I was mad, but I ordered one and it came in April 2023. I charge at my local Osprey charger because it has a Type 2 connectors. She commutes daily, a daily commute of 18 miles round trip. It takes 2 hours to charge up those 18 miles when she's plugged in, but it doesn't have any home charging. So she uses a tough leads charger cable so she can charge at home, but she's on a busy road in a lay-by. So I guess she just runs the cable over the pavement. I don't know.
Okay.
She says she put traffic cones in front to protect her. Love your video, she says. So,
Oh, that makes me so happy that her Ami is a her, and I bet she has a name. If she has a name, please do reply and tell us she has a name. One thing you might be interested in is you can apply now in some areas for cable gullies to be fitted in front of your house. I don't know if that would be an option for you, but it might be, something worth investigating in case it is. It does make that hassle of having cables all over the place a lot easier.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't being completely down on them all. It was just more that I thought we needed a mix of cables. I'm very happy you've got an Ami because I do really, really love it actually. And I wish I was in a situation where I had regular short journeys that I could have one, because I would in a heartbeat. I think it's such a fun car, happy car. And let us know what her name is.
Yeah. No, it's good to hear people making it work. Right. Okay. A couple of subjects on the subject of cars getting too big. Okay. Patrick Gardner says, I do sometimes wonder if I live on the same planet as most car journalists. Why is a modern Mini the size of a medium to large family saloon that we would have had 50 years ago? They're hard to park, have pointless top speeds, and top speeds that are illegal not to use on public roads. Small cars were always the most fun. Why do we think we need the cars to be so bloated and ridiculous? He says K cars are the answer, which are Japanese market, very small cars that have a specific footprint. They can't be any bigger than that. So it's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, I was talking to on the BYD Dolphin launch last year, I was talking to a chassis and engineering guy, and he said the Dolphin is about the smallest car you can make and still get a 5-star NCAP rating. He said the NCAP tests are so tough that you can't physically make a smaller car out of steel. You can make one out of something unobtainium, but it'd be really stupidly expensive, out of standard sort of components and materials that can withstand and get you a 5-star rating. And he asked me, he said, do you think that customers would be willing to, get a smaller car if it's only got a 3-star NCAP rating? It's an optics thing, isn't it? Do you want to be the brand that doesn't sell a 5-star car? So, but that's the reason why they're getting bigger, and we're getting bigger as people, and we just want bigger, comfortable cars, can't we? So do we ever see a return to really small stuff?
Well, Ami, rest my case with that one. I guess for certain people, is really not a car. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
No, but you know what I mean. I'm not being facetious, but yeah,
okay.
it's just...
that told me it's not a car. Would I buy? I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't buy a car that had a much lower NCAP rating. I don't think I wouldn't. And I think I know a lot of people, particularly people who are putting their kids in cars, that feel the same.
Mm.
I think there will be a return to smaller cars as we move more and more into different levels of autonomy, personally. And, I think that's when it becomes perhaps smaller city cars that are autonomous, and this idea that little taxis could come and pick you up. But I think we will see some quite interesting stuff happening at that much smaller end of the market. Don't know, what do you reckon, Tom?
Well, I think that the Dacia Spring's going to be the new small electric car, isn't it? But that I think will have an NCAP rating which is, compromised, I suppose they would say. But if you think about the doors on an old Super Mini, they were kind of that thick, weren't they? And now you have to have them that thick to get side protection bars and airbags and all the other things we expect. But there's things like that they're moving the speakers, I think, on the EX30, don't they? They're now on the dashboard rather than having them in the doors. So maybe they can start to narrow them down a bit, because I think they know it's a problem. And a wide car has a bigger frontal area, which means it's got more aerodynamic drag, which means you have less range. So perhaps it's going to come. I think it needs to. I mean, my son's got a Fiat Panda, an old Fiat Panda, and I'd sometimes take it to the station because I know that the only spaces left will be the one next to the pillar with a Range Rover parked over the white line, and it can fit in it, and it's joyous.
Yeah.
I'm off to see the new Renault 5 for a sneak preview soon, and I know it will be interesting, I think, to see how that has grown in comparison to the original. And I think the point that was raised, which was the Mini is a great example. You see those old Minis and they look like tiny little things, don't they now?
Yeah, they do. That's a good link, actually, Jenny, to our next one, which is on the subject of cars getting too expensive, which is what we regularly hear about and don't really have an answer to. Green Goblin, possibly not a real name, says, I've been waiting patiently for the new Renault 5, only to find out, he thinks that he's been told that the price is going to be around the £30,000 mark. He's really disappointed because his Renault dealer suggested prices would be between £20,000 and £25,000. Says, can you find out any truth in this? Is it going to be 30 grand? What have we heard on the grapevine?
Well, it was initially. He's absolutely right. They were the prices that we had sort of bandied around. I strongly suspect it will be more in the higher 20s, personally. I don't have any insider info on that, but that's just, just taking a feel for where the market's at.
I think there's going to be the Renault 4 is going to be the cheaper one, isn't it? So that's going to kind of be the rival for the Citroen EC3. So it's going to be low 20s, and the 5 is going to be high 20s, is how I understand it.
And then you'll have Spring below that, won't you, as the kind of Renault group's cheapest. So Spring 4, then 5. Again, I guess 5 goes up against Mini, high end bits of Fiat 500, that kind of thing. So yeah, I guess that will be.
How much is that Fiat 500 you've just waved goodbye to, Mike? That must have been nearly 30, more than 30.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was about. Yes, it was. It was about 25, something like that. So yeah, 25, 26. So yes, it was a chunk of money.
And interestingly, on this subject, we've got a podcast special coming out, actually, as a video that we've just recorded, which is looking at the value of 12-month-old electric cars. And actually, yes, we talk a lot about the prices of new cars. We are starting to see some real bargains out there when it comes to almost new electric cars, and we're going to be revealing all the top 10 drops. So if you aren't already subscribed, please make sure you do, so you know when that one has landed, because there'll be some interesting stuff in that. Anything else from the postback, Mike?
I've got a few quick ones. Yes, a few quick shout outs. Luke Messiah Nakajima says, I'm a great fan of your YouTube channel. Thank you very much, Luke. And that's why I got my Hyundai Ioniq 5 based on one of our video reviews. He said, I'm a disabled driver and I don't have home charging, but I'm managing really well. I'm thoroughly enjoying my driving experience with Ioniq 5. Isn't that nice to hear? That's amazing.
What? Absolutely brilliant. But also, just not the challenge of not having home charging. That's fantastic. And I'm so happy you like the Ioniq 5. There is one member on the team particularly who has a big soft spot for that car.
Yeah, the human ruler has one as well. Yeah, so that's
Human
good.
ruler.
Steve says, love your show, love the energy, but really miss the photos of the cars you're discussing on the podcast. We'll fix that.
No.
We'll sort that. That's down to me sending Manos to say looking pictures. So yes, we'll fix that on our old friend Stan Kangaroo Island TV. Ginny, you're in luck here because he says, thank you for watching my video in the shout out. Ginny, you'd be most welcome on Kangaroo Island. I'd be delighted to show you around. So I'm not entirely sure what you're doing for the rest of the year, but Stan's got an invite for you.
Christmas 2025 is when we're next there. I'm going to have a big family Christmas out there, and it is on my list to come to Kangaroo Island at some point over there.
Call us. Message your number. We'll put Ginny's mobile number in the description below so you can give her. Finally, Tassie EV says, well, Mike, Nicola, and Ginny. Tassie EV is actually further away because we always said that Stan's our furthest away listener and reader. But no, Tassie EV is based in Tasmania. Fairly new to the podcast, but love it. But would give a vote to make the kilowatt half hour an hour instead. Well, we're cracking on for that today. So hopefully I don't mind the slightly longer one. And finally, double act of the week. We had some real comedians in the comments this week. Rob Smith said, the most compelling thing about Vauxhall's EV offerings are the huge discounts available. It makes a mockery of their list prices. So that was yep. And then below it, Philip Taylor added, of course they discount them. The list prices are astronomical. So a round of applause for the two. We're the true cannon and ball of commenters in our comments this week. Does
that mean it's copyrighted, or can I steal those for
you headlines? We steal all that good stuff from the comments, don't we? So that's fine.
Yeah, so they'll be popping up in a video on the YouTube channel soon.
And that concludes the post bag for this week, Ginny.
Lovely. Well, it was a brilliant post bag, and Tassie, special ed to you. My mum and dad are in Tasmania next week. Funnily enough, so maybe I'll send mum and dad over to say hi to Tassie.
Put their numbers in the description as well.
That was a brilliant post bag. Please keep them coming. They're fast becoming like such an important part of the show. We have completely gone over our kilowatt half hour. We're more like a kilowatt 3/4 of an hour. So if it's too long, let us know. You can blame Mike. It was his decision to do this. And we'll be back next week. And also do watch out for that podcast special on all the bargains that you can get only in the UK. Sorry, we weren't looking globally on electric, slightly used electric cars. Slightly used, that sounds horrible, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Pre-owned, almost new. That's much better. Pre-loved. Right, from all of us, thank you. That was the kilowatt half hour-ish. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.